On the agenda tonight, we're going back to 1967. We're going to be taking a look at Vicki Carr, and she's going to be performing It Must Be Him. Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus, and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. So, full disclosure here, I had never heard of Vicki Carr before getting this request and checking out this performance, and obviously reading up about her and the fact that she's a multiple Grammy winner. And I always look into it as to maybe why I haven't heard of her, and I think here in the UK, and that's probably the reason for it, that she had a couple of songs that did well here, but for the most part she's very well known over in the USA, and yeah, it just didn't kind of make it over the water. She also had a lot of huge hits in Spanish, because she was born in El Paso in Texas, I believe that is. So yeah, her parents were Mexican, so that's probably the reason that she had a lot of hits in another language. But yeah, this was great because it was like discovering a voice for the first time. But this song in particular did get to number 2 here in the UK charts, and There I Go in 1967 got to number 5. So I think those were the 2 highest charting songs that she had. But we will jump into this, of course. We have the pitch monitoring software on screen, and there's a link to the original video if you guys want to watch it without me interrupting. I think we might watch this the whole way through because it's about 3 minutes in length, so it's not too long, and then we'll jump into the analysis after. So let's get into it.
I tell myself what's done is done. I tell myself, don't be a fool, play the field, have a lot of fun. It's easy when you play it cool. I tell myself, don't be a chump, who cares, let him stay away. That's when the phone rings and I jump, and as I grab the phone I pray. After a while, I'm myself again. I pick the pieces off the floor, put my heart on the shelf again. He'll never hurt me anymore. I'm not a puppet on a string. I'll find somebody else someday. That's when the phone rings, and once again I start to pray. Let it please be him. Oh dear God, it must be him. It must be him, or I shall die. Or I shall die. Oh hello, hello, my dear God, it must be him, but it's not him, and then I die. Again I die. Let it please be him. Oh dear God, it must be him. It must be him, or I shall die. Or I shall die.
And there we have it. I mean, what a voice that is. But with Vicki's voice, there is so much going on, because we looked recently at Bert Lahr and his vibrato and the way that he changed it up in The Wizard of Oz for comedic effect, and just showing that he had total control of his vibrato. And with Vicki's voice, we get so many different versions of vibrato that it's great, because when we get into the chorus, she really covers a lot more pitch, and in the verse, she keeps it really subtle. So she's got this total control of what she's doing. And I mean, because this was the first time that I'd heard her voice, there's more than a passing resemblance to Shirley Bassey's voice. I mean, in my opinion, obviously it's subjective, but because we have at least one analysis video, if not more, on Shirley's voice, probably spanning her 50-year career, it's a voice that, being in the UK, I know very well, and being a James Bond fan, a fan of the movies, I know her voice well from those themes as well. But with her voice, she did a really similar thing to what Vicki's doing with her voice, which not only the vibrato, I think we're probably covering 2 to 3 semitones worth of vibrato in Vicki's voice, like Shirley does naturally in her voice.
What's done is done, I tell myself. Don't be a fool, play the field, have a lot of fun. It's easy when you play it cool.
That kind of thing, that is so something that Shirley Bassey does with her cadence, the phrasing, without going na 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 and just singing it straight, saying na 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 na. No, and this is play it cool at the end. Let me just listen to the lyrics.
When you play it cool.
When you play it cool, you're kind of leading on the audience who are waiting for the end of the line, but you make them wait for it, and then just that delay. It's great. It's such a deliberate pause to make it obviously more dramatic. When I'm saying about making it more dramatic, this is a song and a performance that you can almost put in a bracket of musical theatre. The way that Vicki is acting this out, not only with her voice, enunciation, something that I'm going to mention with not only Shirley Bassey like we did, but with Vicki, making it so clear. And this is why I say it's almost like musical theatre, because the story is really important, even more so for musical theatre rather than a mainstream pop song, for example, because in the theatre you're telling a story, and people have got to understand the relevance of the character and the story that they're telling. But here, she's so clear with everything that she's saying, obviously really accurate pitch-wise as well, but just the way that she acts it out, I mean, it's great, just a great performance all round. Let's listen on.
I tell myself, don't be a chump.
And this talking quality that we get to it, so it's not, no, even though it is, and this is what I always say is the art form of delivering the vocal like you're telling a story, but hitting pitches, but making it sound like you're not hitting pitches. Because I was about to say that she's not being strict with her pitch, but she kind of is. Listen again.
Don't be a chump. Who cares?
There, I mean, she just breaks off. But even that, don't be a chump, she's not doing that. She's actually being quite loose with that final part.
Don't be a chump.
But it sounds like she's talking it, but she's bang on the E4. Like I said, this is an art form. It's talking chump it's singing, but talking at the same time. So hitting pitches when it sounds like you're talking. So this is what Vicki's doing. But then she breaks off into what would just be pure talking, just the expression of telling a story.
Who cares?
Like that. It doesn't matter where those notes are. And this is something, again, that Shirley Bassey did as well, and has that break off into the storytelling. And that's why the voice is so engaging.
Let him stay away.
Way. And now, way. We get, you can see it on screen, this way. It's actually more like that, actually going sharp. If I was to slow that down, you'd hear that technically, if you were to draw a line through this vibrato, we'd have the F4 and the F sharp 4. The average of that will be between the notes, but this is the point. It's just a totally natural vocal. But this way, you'll hear quite a dramatic wobble. Let's listen to it in slow motion. Way. It was even more dramatic than I was doing. So you can see that we're covering, what, 2.5 semitones here? I mean, well, no, technically, if we're going from halfway here, then you can say then that's 1, 2, 3 semitones in vibrato.
That's when the phone rings and I jump.
See again, I joke. It's not even that accurate to the E4, which is the note that we take in as the melody. But again, this is the great thing about listening to somebody's voice. We take in that note or that noise as an E4, but it wasn't. It was between notes. It was as inaccurate as you can get, being between the notes that we know. You know, A440 standard tuning, playing a piano. It's not any of those keys. That sound, but it registers as an E4. It registers as a key on the keyboard, but this is because we hear the expression in the voice and then we attribute a pitch to the expression afterwards. We don't hear the pitch first.
And as I grab the phone, I pray.
And here we go. So now pray. We're now getting this really dramatic vibrato, and especially at the end, look at this. We've essentially got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, over 5 semitones worth of vibrato. Now, if I was to slow this down, we are going to hear pray. It's going to sound crazy, but when you listen to it in real time, obviously, it just sounds great. You know, it's all over the place, but let's listen to it in real time.
I pray.
And this is the thing, it's all about the speed. Same thing as Shirley. When you have this wider vibrato and you have pray, if you're to do it slowly, pray, then you hear the pitch more because you've got obviously more time to decipher the pitch and you get to understand the notes that are being covered, the pitch that's being covered in more detail, because the slower something is, the more detail we can hear it in. But when you go pray and you start to speed it up, even though it's a really wide vibrato, you still have that reference point of the note. Oftentimes you'll find that as a singer ages, their vibrato slows down. So it means that even if they were going and they were covering a lot of pitch, when it's faster, you don't really notice it as much. Whereas when it starts to be slowed down and they go you then now start to hear the peaks, the frequency of going and you hear the top of that, you know, that wave effectively of pitch and vibrato that we have. So then it sounds even more dramatic. But this is quite fast, but this is a really dramatic vibrato. Let's listen on.
Let it please be him.
And just by the way, the pitch of, you know, let it please being bang on that E4, please be him, and then getting into that vibrato, you know, the pitch accuracy is just, again, off the charts because, you know, Vicki has fantastic pitch, but it's not an edited vocal. She's dipping in and out, and that's what you get with the great singers. They dip in and out of just being spot on pitch-wise, but then, because there's expression, it means that you're never going to get on the lines all the time.
Oh, dear God, it must be him.
And here with this G sharp 4, again, if you were to draw a line through this vibrato, we would be between notes. So you couldn't get less accurate than this. But, I mean, it's a great performance to show you how we interpret sound when we're listening to a great singer. We're not thinking that this sounds out of tune because we're hearing the vibrato. And the vibrato covering such a lot of pitch means that the note is in there and you're not given a You're not just given a straight line, you're given a you're given a bit of a wobble, but because it's all around the pitch anyway, you know, again, the ear fills in the gaps, and we just get to enjoy that, the technique, but the vibrato.
Oh dear God, it must be him, it must be him, or I shall die.
And again, this slide up to this F sharp 4.
Or I shall die.
And again, really dramatic
Oh,
here.
hello, hello, my dear God.
Yeah, I love the way that she's kind of sliding up. No, before she actually gets to that. I mean, we can see it on screen here, then applying the vibrato.
Must be him.
And there you get the, again, the light and shade, the change in vocal delivery of not always going no and supplying vibrato, but it must be him, and kind of just letting it go down to wherever it goes, back into this storytelling.
But it's not him.
And again, but it's not him. You know, maybe it's tiny wobble of vibrato, but it's just basically like talking now.
But it's not him.
Yeah, a tiny bit of vibrato, but it was almost in the breath of the sound, you know, right at the end. You couldn't really make it out. But again, just totally breaking off from singing to now talking on pitch. Because this is, again, the F sharp 4. No, it is a definite note, but let's listen on.
And then I die. That's when I die.
And die. Now a more subtle vibrato. Even though I say subtle, we've still got, you know, a couple of semitones, maybe a bit more. You'll find that great singers who are in musical theatre, you know, can have that background in classical music, being classically trained as a singer, and vibrato is something that definitely is more prevalent in dramatic performances. You know, if you're watching anything, you know, like opera, you know, some of the vocals that you'll hear are like this, where you do get, you know, 4 or 5 semitones worth of vibrato, and it's all of that drama of oh, you know, you're having that standout vocal, because it's making the character big, because you're making the impact of the vocal big by covering a lot of vibrato. There's no doubt that if I did that and went, oh, having that wave in there, or going, oh, the second one is so bland because there's nothing in there. Whereas, yeah, the more drama you put into it, generally the more vibrato you're going to get, because it's going to make it stand out. And I know that people will say, well, there are plenty of pop artists who sing with relatively straight vocals and don't have a lot of vibrato. But pop music and, yeah, mainstream releases are a totally different kettle of fish when we're talking about classically trained vocalists and, yeah, musical theatre and opera and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, when you're talking about pop singers, some pop singers do sing straight, and that becomes their personality, because they're not singing a song as another character, they're just singing as themselves. So they're just giving you their voice, and it might just happen to not have a lot of vibrato in it, but that's the point, it's their voice. So this is why I'm saying that this is more like musical theatre, because of the vocal delivery telling the story, but also the editing of this vibrato, which happens throughout.
After a while, I'm myself again.
Again, the again is perfectly between notes here, but back into the
I
storytelling.
pick the pieces off the floor, put my heart on the shelf again. He'll never hurt me anymore.
I mean, the way that she's just dipping in and out of pitch here. Just have a listen to this again.
After a while,
Like, just no pitch here whatsoever. Just, after a while, you know,
I'm myself again.
myself again. You know, she's not singing here, just talking.
I pick the pieces off the floor.
And there, I pick the pieces off the floor. And she comes up to the floor. She actually has a bit of vibrato there as well. Perfectly on the F sharp 4. So we've got all of this talking and then hitting a note and being really specific about her pitch and where she's placing it.
Put my heart
And even here, na na na. She's actually still quite strict here.
on the shelf again.
And then throws it away in between the D sharp 4 and the E4. And that's an argument that a lot of people make nowadays, that you know, the feel and the personality in modern day music is getting lost. But that's what happens when you tune everything. You're losing that talking quality, the storytelling that should really be in there. You should have the freedom to express yourself through the spoken word as well as the sung word. The thing to take in is her pitch accuracy when she wants to be accurate, when she just wants to hit a note and not apply a wide vibrato. This is the point, that when you have a wide vibrato, you've got the note in there somewhere. So this is why I think some people say, oh, using a wide vibrato is cheating because it means you don't have to hit pitches accurately. But in these kinds of examples, with Vicki being such an amazing vocalist, she's doing the vibrato stylistically, artistically, intentionally, but she has the ability to hit a note just absolutely bang on. Have a listen to it.
Oh, dear God.
No, no, no. You know, she's absolutely bang on that. And, you know, you can't get more accurate than this.
But it must be him. It must be him, or I shall die. Or I shall die.
Again, you know, again, just a straight note there, F sharp 4. She's not going and applying vibrato all the time. So yeah, just a great mix of technique that we've got. So, you know, there's so many things that you can point out about this voice, and I'm amazed that I had never heard it before. But I'm amazed at hearing it because there is so much in there. I mean, what a fantastic voice this is. But anyway, thank you guys for requesting this particular video for tonight and to take a look at Vicki's voice. As always, let me know what you guys think. Keep those suggestions and requests coming in the comment section below. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Rock!